So welcome to Conversations with Esther. It's always a pleasure to be here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Karibu sana. I see quite a number coming in. As always, we will begin with a word of prayer in the interest of time, and then we can proceed. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your goodness and faithfulness. Thank you, Lord, for gathering us together once more. Today, Lord, as we speak matters, breastfeeding in the workplace and taking care of our loved ones in the workplace and in our families, we ask that you take charge of this meeting and take control. We thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. So karibu sana, karibu sana. Today's topic is amazing, close to my heart. I wish somebody had given me this conversation 18 years ago. And I wish the policies and laws were in place then. I would have enjoyed more of this. But it is time for everything. And it's a good opportunity for every one of us in the room, for you and for generations to come, that we can have a conversation around breastfeeding in the workplace. Now, this week happens to be the World Breastfeeding Week. And I want to thank the men in the room. I see some men in the room. Karibu sana and kudos to you. Thank you for making the choice and the best choice to attend this. I was talking to my colleagues and saying I went into a session and one of the men said they are breastfeeding fathers. And that was amazing. I mean, that's the best introduction I got from that gentleman. So karibu sana. So enabling, the theme is enabling breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents. I'm aware we have quite some guests in the room. Thank you. Jane is in the room. Jane is a very good friend of mine, a friend of HR. Asante sana, Jane. Asante sana, Rachel. Rachel is with the Ministry of Health. Asante sana, Clementine, a specialist in nutrition. We will be hearing from them. Now, today I will not be your moderator. I want to introduce to you a special lady, and I'll ask her to switch on her camera as I introduce her to you. Yes, that is our moderator for today. I want to introduce to you Stephanie Ayata. Stephanie is a part of Conversations with Esther. If you've been listening to Conversations with Esther on our YouTube, there is a voice and there's a lady, beautiful lady that sits next to me that interviews me. That is Stephanie Ayata. Now, Stephanie is a passionate journalist, currently the host of a popular technology show on Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, that's KBC. She is also a host to 2 morning show programs on KBC 1, Channel 1, and Y254. That is Good Morning Kenya and Y in the Morning. Now, Stephanie is a great voiceover artist. She does voiceovers for Take on Tech program on KBC. She has a great interest in technology and youth empowerment. A born-again Christian, passionate about bringing positive change to the world. We have the perfect person to moderate this session. And we thank you, Stephanie, because you are among the first, the 5 or 6 of us that sat down and figured out that Conversations with Esther can happen. Thank you very much. Karibu sana, Stephanie. The floor is yours. Today is your day. Take it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. What a wonderful introduction. I'm really honored, I must say, to moderate this session, Conversation with Esther. And I'm looking forward to, the conversation that will be going down today. In Conversation with Esther is where we usually have, it's usually a safe space. I like to refer it as that, a safe space where we get to have honest conversations, especially around matters wellness. And this is all round, be it mental wellness, physical, financial, so an all round wellness. And that is what I am for. So it's an honor and privilege to be a part of this. So I'll go straight into it. Today being, World Breastfeeding Week, and the theme is, enabling breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents. I'm going to introduce some of the panelists that are going to talk to us today. There are three of them, as you saw in the poster. So the first one is Rachel Wanjugu Ndungu, and she is from the Ministry of Health, a maternal neonatal child expert with over 15 years experience. She is also a clinical nutritionist and holds a Bachelor of Science degree in food nutrition and dietetics, currently undertaking a master's in public health, monitoring and evaluation. She's also been involved in the developing of maternal, infant, and young child policies and guidelines in the country, and has been also involved in the review of maternal child and young child training curriculum. So much to her profile, and I'm sure this is not everything that's there, but we'll be getting to hear what she has to say on this. Currently, she is joining us from West Pokot. What an honor and privilege we have today. Thank you very much, Rachel. That is Rachel. And then we also have Jane Mutisia, who's the Kenya country chair of positive masculinity for G100 by All Ladies League. More of Jane is that she's also a coach. That's Jane. She's also a coach certified by the Coach Transformation Academy, Dubai, as a senior professional coach, and has over 15 years of diverse human resources management experience. Apart from this, she is very passionate about women bouncing back to work after delivery. The perfect person to speak on this topic. I'm looking forward to what she'll be talking to us about. And finally, we have Clementina Ngina, who's a nutrition consultant. She holds a master's degree in public health and Bachelor of Science degree in human nutrition and dietetics. She is a public health and nutrition expert with over 16 years of experience in public health initiatives in Kenya, has extensive knowledge and experience in nutrition-specific and sensitive stakeholder landscape and nutrition programming and planning processes. Also a member of the National Maternal, Infant, and Young Child Nutrition Technical Working Group. So we have all seasoned speakers talking to us today about World Breastfeeding Week. So let me get straight into it. Because of time, we only have 1 hour. We're supposed to finish at 8. So we are hoping to get the most out of it before time is out. I will start with one of the speakers. That is Rachel Wanjugu, who's from the Ministry of Health, and she'll be talking to us about Ministry of Health, about the Health Act and compliance in the workspace in the area of breastfeeding. Also, we'd want to hear what is the expectation for employers. Rachel, the floor is yours.
So good evening, good afternoon, good morning from where you're logging in. I want to welcome you all for this webinar, and we are happy to be here. We appreciate even for all of us finding time to join. So I will take us through the policy aspect within the Ministry of Health, so that we appreciate where the country is at this particular time. And so we are going to look at the theme being enabling breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents, being the theme of this World Breastfeeding Week. And we are happy as a nation that we are moving on to ensure that breastfeeding is taking shape and starting, and the agenda being moved forward as a serious conversation. So to start with, sorry, a minute, I move. something that is broken. Okay, so
Rachel?
sorry, I don't know why it got muted. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yes,
but I
you're
want
back now.
yes, and I want people to appreciate we're in a very remote area, appreciating Kenya and offering technical support at various county levels. So we are going to first look at policies and legislations protecting the breastfeeding rights of the working women. And this we want to first appreciate. We want to appreciate that Kenya, in our constitution, it recognizes breastfeeding as a human right issue for babies and mothers. So the issues of breastfeeding are well enshrined in the constitution. First noting that in Article 53, 1C, it gives every child the right to basic nutrition, shelter, and healthcare. Beyond that, in Article 43, 1C, it looks on economic and social rights that provides for freedom from hunger and to have adequate food of acceptable quality. So we are appreciating that Kenya, we have our constitution recognizing the rights for our children when it comes to issues of breastfeeding. We want to appreciate that breastfeeding is the best life-saving food for our children. And so when we see the Constitution of Kenya acknowledging, ensuring that our children are that we are already well, issues are well articulated. Go further to look at the substitutes Regulations and Control Act of 2012. So this was on 11th October 2012, and it commenced on 17th of December 2012. So the Act provides for, one, appropriate marketing and distribution of breast milk substitutes. I know most of us are not aware about the breast milk substitute. The breast milk substitute goes further to look at various things that the Act looks at that should be controlled in terms of marketing and distribution. And this goes to even issues of the bottle feeds. We have the pacifiers. We have other breast milk substitute that other milks that we use. And these are called designated products. So that is, the Act provides for appropriate marketing and distribution of the same. So it also provides for safe and adequate nutrition for infants and proper use of breast milk substitutes where necessary, because we want to promote and protect breastfeeding. So going further, we find that the Breast Milk Substitute Regulation 2021 is a statutory instrument which seeks to give to the issues of breast milk substitute regulation Act of 2012. And we find that the regulation seeks to, one, reduce preventable infant and young child illness and death through protection, promoting and supporting of optimal breastfeeding and complementary, and not just optimal complementary feeding and proper use of breast milk substitutes where necessary. So you find that when you're talking about preventing infant and young child illness, is because breast milk, when we look at it wholesomely, it has everything the child needs in terms of nutrients, it's readily available. Issues of contaminations are reduced, they are not there. And more so, we are saying that it also has the right nutrients, the right temperature. It has everything, and ensures that it also prevents the children from becoming sick. So we are saying it protects. You have to ensure that we are protecting, promoting, and supporting optimal breastfeeding, and ensure at complementary feeding, we are feeding the children the way they should be done, the frequency, the amounts, the texture, in details, that our children are getting the right amount, the hygiene aspect, all that are well taken care of. So further, as a second point, it promotes and protects the best interest of an infant and young child in the following way. One, we have early initiation of breastfeeding within 1 hour. So this is one of the reasons we are really pushing that our mothers first, that they are delivering in the facilities, so that early initiation is done within the first 1 hour, and this will promote, protect, and support exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. I know most of us are challenged when we think about the 6 months in calculation. We normally say 180 days. So this is a key thing to ensure that when the children they start breastfeeding within that 1 hour. It gives a very strong indication that this child in future will also be exclusively breastfed. Secondly, there is timely introduction of appropriate, nutritionally adequate and safe complementary foods with continued breastfeeding for a period of 24 months, that is 2 years or beyond. This is a key thing. We want that most of our mothers, considering they are going back to work, they find it a bit challenging to continue exclusively breastfeeding for 6 months and continue for 2 years and beyond. So you can see the Act is supporting where our mothers will ensure that they have done it, and we'll see the other government documents and policies that are supporting the same to ensure that our mothers are taken care of and breastfeeding is happening. So the third aspect is that where necessary, breast milk where necessary, breast milk substitutes and prepackaged complementary foods shall be safe for the consumption by an infant or young child. When we say where necessary, we are looking at a situation where the mother has died, there is separation due to maybe an issue, the mother is very sick, the child is sick or maybe has cleft palate or other medical conditions. This is when we are saying where necessary, because almost all mothers can breastfeed exclusively for 6 months, and they can continue to breastfeed for 2 years and beyond. So we are saying that the breast milk substitutes and prepackaged complementary foods, and this one is looking for children we are looking at this up to 24 months by the time we're saying let the babies breastfeed. Complementary foods means that you breastfeed the child and give other foods. So when you're talking about where necessary, I'm stressing this to ensure that the Act is putting the point on the when we need to use the substitute. So when it comes to the next point is on adequate and accurate information on breastfeeding and infant and young child feeding shall be available to the general public. So the Act also ensures that this information is available because we want our population to make informed choice when they have the information. So Adequate information is very important, and we are appreciating that most of us are coming from a point where we don't know. We are learning this the first time, and we are appreciating that we have this period to ensure that we increase advocacy and more so support the same. So the third point on the same, it does to guide the ethical interaction of manufacturers with in which donations are used, or demonstration on use, development of IEC materials, and labeling of BM or breast milk substitutes and other designated products. So this, when you're looking at interaction of manufacturers with health workers, we expect that they are only engaging on scientific discussions. So we don't expect the health workers to have, to be given gifts. This includes even a pen that is labeled, because that is marketing, labeled the organization, the manufacturer's organization. So we are looking at this, even at a pad, a notepad. So you'll find that this may be given, it may be enticing, even a dust coat. That is, so this guides the ethical interaction. To what level can the manufacturer do with the health worker? Issues of donation, we want to appreciate that it goes further to say that when donations are being done, these requests should be done and to the national office and given authority for donations to happen. So you just can't go somewhere and give the donations of the breast milk substitutes. That will be violation of the act of the law. The other aspect is demonstration on use. So when you come to a health facility, and I have a mother who needs to use the breast milk substitute, this should not be done in an open space. So to avoid other mothers thinking this may be a better option, or this looks maybe, people look things differently. This looks more maybe modern, and end up having issues with the mothers in terms of protecting, supporting breastfeeding. So the other aspect is development of IEC. We have to be keen to ensure that the IEC materials don't have any designated product. The materials IEC should not have bottles, should not have pacifiers, should not have those breast milk substitute, or even the complementary foods that we are discussing here within the designated products. So we go further. Kenya has put in beyond the Act, BMS Act, it has put in place policies and legislations for providing requisite support to enable women combine work and breastfeeding. And you'll find that 72% of all women are coming back and really challenged at this particular time because they don't know what to do. They have gone back to work. They don't know how, they don't know, or they even don't have the space where they can express their milk, where they can, even the time. So Kenya government has gone further and ensured that we have policies and legislation in the Employment Act 2007 that looks, it ensures that the Kenya Employment Act Section 29, it states that the female employee shall be entitled to 3 months maternity leave. So this is a law that all organizations need to appreciate from now in Section 29, that the women should go for 3 months maternity leave, which are fully paid, and with flexi hours, which is 60 minutes within the 8 hours that they are working. So within that period, we should ensure that our mothers have flexi time when they come back to work. So the other thing, we want to appreciate that male involvement in breastfeeding is very key. And so our male employees are entitled to 2 weeks paternity leaves with full pay. So this is the time the men need to be there and support their women for those 2 periods, which is a critical time. So we go further looking at the Health Act 2017. It has 2 key sections that are specific and that are, that details how we need to support our mothers who are breastfeeding. So the Health Act 2017, Section 71(1) states that all employers shall in the workplace establish lactation stations, which shall be adequately provided with necessary equipment and facilities, which include, in fact, it states it should not be in the washrooms. So it should have a hand washing equipment or facility. It should have a refrigerator or appropriate cooling facility. It should have electrical outlets for breast pumps, as multiple in a comfortable seat. That's it. So that room should be a room that the women can be able, the employed women. And this is also going to beyond, in the social spaces where we have markets, that those women, as they continue with their work, they can still continue breastfeeding. And we also want to ensure that lactation continues, because the more milk that is produced, the more milk that a baby takes out or that is expressed, the more milk is produced. So we want the mother to continue breastfeeding so that there is enough milk production throughout. So the standard of which shall be defined by the ministry responsible for matters relating to health. Going further to that, Section 1, Part 2, it says that the lactation stations shall not be located in the restroom, as I say. So this is a place that is clean, safe, and clean for use. And that part says that all employers shall take strict measures to prevent, 1, any direct or indirect promotion of the breast milk substitutes. They should not market. So we, at this particular time where we are going to this space, we should not find tins that are designated, the breast milk substitute, and also all the designated products. We should not find them there. Issues of marketing. We don't expect to find IEC material. Or the company comes and tells you, the manufacturer, can we have prepare for you this room? And then they put their logos in that place. That will be a violation. So the other thing is that they should also ensure they preview of infant formulas and or breast milk substitutes within the lactation. So that needs to be observed. Section in the Act, that is 72, it says 1, an employer shall grant all nursing employees, in addition to the regular times off, for males to breastfeed or express milk. So generally we know that all employees are entitled to a break to have their lunch. So for the Act, it puts 60 minutes, flexi hours, which you can break, maybe 20 minutes. She can go for the 60 minutes. And this includes her movement in and out. At this time, this is when the mother needs to go express her milk, or she needs to go, if she's living near her home, she can rush home, ensure that she breastfeeds and comes home. So the second part of it, it says that the time intervals referred to in subsection 1 shall include the time it takes an employee to get to and from the lactation station and shall be counted as compensable. You should pay for that 1 hour worked, provided that such interval shall not be more than a total of 1 hour within the 8 working hours. So very key for us to note that we need to support our mothers to ensure that our babies grow well. So working female employees have a right to an environment that enables them to successfully breastfeed. Employers to promote breastfeeding, and have a friendly space that is going to ensure mothers are comfortable and lactation continues. So the following, the employer should ensure they provide the following components: a workplace breastfeeding policy, a lactation station or a room or a space, time, and social support structures for breastfeeding. So these women need to be supported. So going further, when you're looking, So workplace breastfeeding policy, it provides a minimum of 3 months paid maternity leaves and 2 weeks paternity leave. So this is Employment Act 2007, Section 29. As a summary, all employees should be sensitized on the workplace breastfeeding policy, reassure breastfeeding female employees that their participation in the workforce is compatible with their reproductive function. The other thing they need is outline workplace provision to enable female employees to maintain breastfeeding. Then it highlights the employer's commitment to helping workers to achieve work-life balance through flexible working arrangement. Very important. And to ensure that they sensitize all the employees on the policy. So this is very important that we ensure the employers continue towards working the same. So rooms for breastfeeding employees are a valuable resource for providing privacy and convenience that mothers need to express the breast milk. Of utmost importance for a breastfeeding employee, when she returns to work, is a space where she can comfortably and safely express breast milk during the working hours. And I want to appreciate that it is once for durations where the women don't have a space to express the breast milk, you'll find the women get, their breast becomes very full. They further go to getting engorged breast. And it's a very painful experience. I know we'll understand further as we go through the session, the next session, on the benefits for both the employee and the employer. Simple breastfeeding rooms or private space can be created within existing building space. So the space just need to be identified, and we have realized that the requirements are quite minimal to ensure that we support the mothers. So the initial cost is usually a one-time expenditure than other costs involved with standard maintenance, which once established, the space can be used for a long period of time. So this is one of things, and we want to appreciate our mothers, what they're doing to ensure that our babies are growing well. So key points for us to note is that the amount of space needed for the lactation space is minimal. Lactation stations do not require full-sized office. The size of the space should be sufficient to accommodate the requirements. Involve at least one breastfeeding employee and other employees with experience in milk expression. Then create awareness on the lactation stations once established for optimal utilization. So we want to ensure that all equipment and supplies used are fit for intended purpose and meet the required standards. So below are the equipments and supplies as highlighted. This is more exhaustive than the statement I had given earlier. We said we need an electrical outlet because some of the mothers may have electric pumps, a comfortable chair that will fit next to the table, a table or counter for pressing the breast pump, lockers, very important, so that the mother, when she puts that milk, she's sure the milk is safe, a refrigerator of all nearby access, a sink, very important because we want to ensure hygiene is maintained, with running water and hand washing facility, and also we ensure that we have disinfecting solution available for cleaning up the spills. We have the liquid soap. The breast pump here is optional because the mother can come with it. Personal protective gears as appropriate. Labels of various stationery and other office supplies, information, education, and communication materials. I see through linkage with the Ministry of Health. We need a waste bucket and a door signage that this is the lactation station. Okay. So I'm trying to move, pre-assessment for establishment. So there is need to do pre-assessment. Which should be done to ensure that the space is conducive for the purpose of supporting breastfeeding. Following are the key conditions. We need consistent supply of clean water, appropriate private room with sufficient space. So will be well lit, adequate ventilation and not located near the restrooms. Policy in support of breastfeeding staff and orientation. Package regarding use of the lactation station and infection control guidelines. So this is very brief. As I end this, I will just give us the layouts. So we have various layouts that we can use. So the number of lactation stations to be established depends on the several factors such as the size of the company, number of female employees, of childbearing age, and the amount of space available. So you can have single-use layout, you can have multiple-use rooms and movable stations. So this is what we are describing in that. You can see there are simple rooms, a space where this mother can sit, where a working area, a sink with running water, and clean space for use. So when you look at other working space, this includes, you can have a creche. It's a space where babies and young children are cared for during the working hours. And we are saying we need to move beyond there to even have daycares, where is an establishment offering care for the preschool, enabling mother to go to work. Okay, so these are just summaries of the same that we have gone through, and looking at of the social support structures. For breastfeeding, we need a holistic support is a key determinant to successful breastfeeding, optimal breastfeeding by female employees upon returning to work. So breastfeeding female employees working from home. Sorry, I am really having an issue with my laptop, sorry. breastfeeding female employees working from home. We want, in an informal setting such as markets or farm, also require support from their families and the community around them. And finally, we are saying that key source of support include but not limited to the family, friends, community leaders, healthcare workers, co-workers, managers, supervisors, and senior managers. So we can see and want to appreciate that the Kenya government has worked very hard. And beyond this, we want to appreciate that we have workplace support framework. And we also have guidelines that are already in place to support workplace. So we are saying that the government has worked hard. It's ensuring that this discussion does not stop in having them in books. And we are appreciating that even in this period, we want to ensure that everyone is informed and aware of the same. So I want to end there, and thank you so much for listening. And I welcome, you can have our questions in our chat as we go on. Back to our moderator. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rachel. That was a wonderful presentation. I feel informed. There's so much. I appreciate the fact that the government recognizes this right of breastfeeding, the importance of it for both mothers and children, and how possible this is to actually execute for employers. It's not something that is far-fetched. It's something that has been broken down, and I'm glad that we are all here to and have gotten to listen to this conversation. I want to also remind us, everyone, I've just seen a chat, someone who has written a message, that's Joshua Kimeo saying, asking, is it possible you share the slides? We actually live on YouTube, and it'll be posted, it'll be saved on YouTube, so you can always go back to refer to this. And for all those who have questions, as we go on, you can write it in the chat. Because of time, I'll welcome the next speaker. That is Jane Mutisia, who, as I introduced earlier on, is a coach, not just a coach, but she also has a different profile from that. She'll tell us about it, and she's going to address the topic, challenges women face in the workspace in regards to breastfeeding and why we can't tolerate this any further, and just the role of the HR in ensuring that there's compliance towards breastfeeding. How can HR support the employers? So Jane, most welcome.
Thank you very much, Clementina. Yeah, that's awesome. So, Rachel, that presentation was quite something. It was quite something, very enlightening, because I also know, and maybe I should start this with a question. Let me see if I'm able to do a poll. To just first of all know how many of us in the call today are complying with the Health Act 2017. How many of us in the call today are complying with the act that Rachel just talked about? If I see the poll, we can run the poll. Let me see if I see where that is. If I don't see the poll section, I can't remember where that used to be. Clementina, are you able to run the poll for me? I've sent you the question. Maybe I don't have the rights. I can't see that bit. You able to run it?
On it.
Okay, super duper. Because ideally, what we are learning from Rachel is that if we just complied with the minimum that have been put by the government, yeah, it implies that the government is doing enough. I'm laughing at someone who is writing something on the chat saying that the act is only appearing on books. And for me, I want us to just have a try. I don't know how many of us are in HR, but even if you're not in HR tomorrow, you can have this conversation with your HR, you know. Compliance is one of the minimums that we must have. If it's not possible, Clementina, I can move to other things. We can do it in a different way.
Yeah, kindly move on. Thanks.
Okay, Okay, super. So maybe then by just indicating on the chat, how many of us have just putting yes, yes, or no, 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 no? How many of us have the lactation spaces in our workplaces? Just yes or no? Yes, no, yes, no. Let's proceed. Rachel looks like everyone is a no. Let's continue putting. Wow. So today I ran a survey. Thank you very much. Today I ran a survey just preparing for this particular conversation because I wanted it to be very, very practical. And I asked, how many of us have lactation rooms in the office? And I'll just show you the raw data. I've not analyzed it, but we can just see it from the raw data, how many people feel very many employers are not complying with the minimums of what the law has put in place for us to be able to support women. And for me, when I talk about this, I always bring the issue of equity, being able to accommodate those who are different, and things that affect the things that make women not even rise in the ranks, because if you have to now quit your own space, even quit working for you to be able to fit in the workspace, then that affects many other things. I'm not even able to counter that, but there are many. I can see no, a lot of it. And I just want to emphasize on the theme. The theme for this year's breastfeeding week is let's make breastfeeding and work. And the beauty about this topic, it affects women because a lot has been invested in women to make women be able to stay at work and even grow. And we keep talking about women leadership, women APCD. And what happens is that we lose very many women during this phase of breastfeeding and child and family. What are we doing in our organizations to ensure that either we support ourselves or at least the employers support the women that are going through that particular phase? Sometimes it is very difficult. Some women are working in Australia and it's almost impossible to even get that washroom that you can actually clean because it is dirty and all that. So what are we doing in our spaces? And I'm just going to read through the charts that you have written just to see the few yeses that we have gotten and the many no's. I'm happy there. So many yeses. Ooh. So one of them is no. Then you have a yes, no, yes, yes. This is beautiful. No, yes. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes. So looks like it's a balance for tonight. Looks like we have enough yeses and enough no's in the room. But I'll show you what the small research that I've done tonight and I got so far. Things are still coming, but so far I have data from around 47 responses. And I'll just share with you so that we deal with the practicals of what is happening on the ground. Are we really implementing it? Because we're discussing the role of HR. The role of HR in ensuring that we comply and we make it easy for women in the workspace. So allow me to just share the raw data, and then we're able to see how are we supporting these women. And you'll see the challenges that we are facing, that women are facing. And I'm so happy that we now know it is not at Fadali. We're actually implementing a law that is supposed to be implemented. Just a minute, I share. I hope it is this one. No. Stop sharing. There we go. There we go. So this has 40 responses is what we look at, even though we could still expand and go to the 46, but let's look at this one that has 40. And the first question that I had asked was, so that we understand why this topic is actually very important, and I'm happy for those who went ahead and advocated for this. And one of them was what Rachel said about breastfeeding children for a certain period of time as required by WHO. You can see a whole 19 women from a sample of 46 were not able to do that. If you go down further, you come and see that if I ask them what is their biggest challenge, And I've been able to just take all those details and put them in synthesize this particular question. And the highest number of people are saying that they did not have anywhere to express. And my next question to them was, then where did you do the expressing? Where did you express if you didn't have a room to express? Some of them have said in the car, in the hotel clinic, in the toilet. Some of them have said they didn't breastfeed, they didn't express. They didn't express, and their breasts were so full and leaking in the office. And some of them even said they were smelling milk in the office. They were discriminated. So this is really serious. And if you have been put in place to take care of this, then we have to take it serious and have measures in place to ensure at least minimum compliance, and even go beyond that. Someone said they used to chase their colleague from their space for them to be able to even have a space for them to just express, even if they're not going to keep. Others talked about refrigerators. And I one of the questions I was asking, what tips would you give such moms? And one of them was saying the way she had to get ice bags for her to be expressing from wherever space and then putting it there, because, and you can imagine how many of your employees may not be able to even afford that, or may not even have that particular information. So my other question would be, if you're in HR, do we have a breastfeeding policy in how we are going to support these particular women? And are we complying with what Rachel just shared at the very minimum? Are we creating awareness? Are we sensitizing staff to know that they actually have this and this is their right? Are we telling the managers that are managing these particular employees? Are employees fearing to take, because if they take advantage of those particular benefits, then they are victimized? There's one lady here who responded and said that, just a minute. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you see what even this one is saying. If there's no lactation room, how did you manage the first 2 weeks upon return to work? And there are many crazy answers of what women go through. And I'll share this report by the end of the week to all of you. I'll show you the star and also share with all my networks. And one of them even saying that they were squeezing milk out. Like, it's so full, she'll just go and express it out because now she doesn't have anything else to do. And my other question that I wanted to understand was this, because like Rachel has said, the more you breastfeed or express, the more milk you have. And we are told that if you stop breastfeeding, if you reduce even the frequency, your milk dries up. And therefore, if you don't have those breastfeeding, you're not just affecting the woman and her health, we're actually affecting plus the baby at home, because the milk will just dry. And if the baby is not yet 6 months, because again, some good employers will give the whole 6 months as a policy. So we can go beyond this and come up with policies that allow people to actually be able to do all that. And let me also say that in terms of other initiatives, if women have children and they're coming back before the 6 months, are we able to even embrace things like flexi hours, shorter working hours, like instead of working for 40 hours like everyone, then they work for a few hours. Maybe they can come early, leave late, or whichever the schedule. If they live near, you can do something to just, but if you have them in your mind, you'll have a solution. And sometimes, we have very many women in the workplace, but if we have that in mind, we can have solutions on how then best do we go about this. And we have a question here. I was asking how the HR department is supporting such moms. One of them said they allow an hour for the first few days after resuming. Others say this, allow them to sign out early. Others said we are doing nothing. If I open this one and I'll open on the Excel sheet, you'll see some of them are saying we are doing nothing about it. Of course, I know we are doing a lot, but there are also those that have to pull their socks and do something for these women. Have you considered quitting your employment immediately after maternity because you felt there was no accommodation for breastfeeding women like you? In the whole 21, almost 50-50, in a pool of 46, considered quitting because they felt now either they were frustrated or their baby was frustrated. And therefore, I cannot emphasize why it is so important that we take this not just as a compliance issue, but a factor that is actually about equity and equality at work. Us being able to create conditions that make it okay for women to come back from maternity and be able to perform and do their work with peace. Have you ever quit because of lack of breastfeeding accommodation? At least no one has quit. We have 4 that have quit, but at least 26% of them were able to find a way to cope. But still, this is big if we can prevent it. This is big if we can stop people from leaving work because of things that maybe we have not complied with. And remember, some are saying they do this in their car, they do this in their office, and we still have a huge workforce that may not even have an office. that may not even have a private space if we don't provide that particular private space. So very, very, very important that we take this as a serious matter that and doesn't have to be expensive, like Rachel has explained. Just a room that has a seat and at least a fridge, or a way that people are able to, because even if you have very many women, I want to imagine the ones that need this will not be so many that you cannot afford a place for them to be able to do the preservation for their milk. And these are things that I was trying to just ask them, what do you tell women that are going through the same, and they have our own tips of what to do, give them half a day until the baby is 6 months reach. Half a day, I know most employers will not give, but let me just show you some of the reasons that they give as to what they went through. Just a minute, I stopped sharing this. Just a minute. And just to share just some raw data on what some of the ladies have expressed this an hour ago, less than an hour ago. And I wanted to just highlight this section from the biggest challenge. And you can see here it's a pressure at work to the extent of having less milk production for the baby. Milk spoiling, which speaks again to what Rachel said in terms of just providing the fridge. We have being unsure, maternity, I don't know what, leaving the baby home alone, having no lactation rooms, neither were they allowed to have time to even leave early or come late in the evening. So total lack of support. This could be special cases, but I want to imagine most organizations are not yet here where we are giving this as something very serious. But I would want to hope that at the very least, we provide this, we provide the fridges, and then we go further and accommodate those that we can accommodate with flex working hours. If we can have people take longer maternity leave, like in terms of take the 3 months that are allowed by law, and then if they can take an annual leave immediately after or something, that's okay. If they can have flexi time, accommodate these particular women, make them work less hours, and all that, because then it becomes very, very, very important for them to be supported. You can see it's a very common complaint. Lack of designated areas for pumping and storage for milk at work. I had a lot of milk. This was a challenge. The question is, what was your biggest challenge? And you can say, I had a lot of milk, and by 10 a.m., my chest was suffocating, too full for her to take a career break. We didn't have a lactation room, and so I had to keep chasing my office mate to be able to do so. I just hope this explains why this is so important. It is just not a nice to have policy. It is just not a nice thing to do, but it's actually a minimum requirement for anybody who is talking about diversity and equity, for anybody who is talking about being accommodative and making women actually be able to work. Because then as HR, that is part of what we are mandated, make the workplace conducive, as part of making the work environment good for other people. You can see this one is saying she had engorged, where was that? The things that Rachel was talking about, they're just not things that she was saying, but they're actually things that people experience. Where was that? I saw someone saying something to do with engorged breast. So here we are. Balancing between breastfeeding and working. One person said the way she could not eat, she had stopped eating so that she doesn't get a lot of milk when still working. Having to leave my son home with extracted milk, licking boobs and me a ridicule. You can see. So a lot of things that I think I can stop there, but a lot of things that just tell you we can't take this lightly anymore. I asked them this question of, in the absence of the lactation room, then where were you doing this? You can see washroom, which Rachel had just said that it is against the law. I didn't. I left work early, but with very engorged breasts. Another one that did in the kitchen store. Another one didn't do anything. Another one had improvised a cooling system. Another one, the stationery store. Another one, pumping was very painful in the washroom. Kitchen, close the kitchen door and all that. Sneaked in the toilet to reduce the burden. Meaning she was maybe going to milk on the floor. Office at lunch hour when people left. So she says a new employer is giving her that. Then she's saying, very well, I am lucky we have a lactation room, but once I went for a training and had to express in the kitchen. So all those, and then did your milk dry? Enough of them are saying, we saw there are not that many, but at least enough of them, the milk dried. And I think I cannot emphasize enough why this is so key for for us as HR to take it as a serious thing, and at least from tonight, if we don't have a policy on breastfeeding and how to support women who are coming back from maternity, to be able to at least start with that. Start with that and back it up with the law from Rachel. The whole the Act 2017, Section 71, 72, all the way down the way she was reading it. Be able to develop from that, at the very least comply by giving a room, and that room should not be used for another thing, you know. And then I've seen very senior women who now implement this after they have suffered. I wouldn't want that to be the case, because then it means there's that level of women who may never have anybody to speak for them, but they equally deserve this particular right for them to be able to express, breastfeed their children, and even be able to live work without having to feel like they're falling sick because of milk. If any woman here has ever suffered an engorged breast, it even gives you a fever. You actually feel very sick. It's a feeling you do not want to have. So I think as a takeaway tonight, even if you can't do anything else, at least develop a policy that supports that. That policy must have at least you developing a lactation room, so asking your boss using the law to be given a budget for the fridge and something that check and that, and then ensure we sensitize the workforce about the same, so that we do not have to have women go through this and our care as a HR profession. Back to you, Clementina.
Thank you, Jade. It's Stephanie, but thank you.
Stephanie,
I get you.
Stephanie, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for that amazing presentation. At least seeing the data on ground, statistics from people, it paints the real picture that is out there, and we see how dire it is, how important it is to actually enforce this and have lactation stations in the workplaces as a bare minimum requirement. And just hearing how women are being discriminated against at the work because of how they smell milk and there's nothing they can do about it is really not something we want to see in this age and time. So I'd ask us to still continue asking our question in the chat and the conversations to keep going. Also, a kind request that we extend this to around 8:30. So that we have our last presentation and Q&A time, so that all our questions can be addressed by the speakers. Because it's a very important session, as has been written there for parents, for employers, and even for employees. With that, I'd like to invite Clementina Ngina, who will be speaking to us on how this is important, not only for mothers, but also for employers. We look at it as it, from a one-sided point of view that's benefiting only mothers and even children, but how is it also benefiting employers? You're welcome, Clementina.
Thank you so much. You are able to see my screen?
Yes. Yes, Clementina.
Good evening, everyone. Kindly allow me not to show my video. I have some technical issue I've been trying and I've not yet been able to resolve. However, just to continue with the conversation, I want us to appreciate the benefits of supporting the female employee, the workplace support for the employer. So as you can see in my screen, one of the key benefits is improved retention of skills and experience. And once we are able to improve this retention, what is going to translate to is reduced recruitment costs. Today, I happened to be in a sensitization meeting whereby we were doing sensitizing other ministries, and we had HRs who talked about, you can imagine, the cost that is bared for recruitment, for advertisement, vis-a-vis the cost for establishing a simple layout for a lactation station. So when we support our mothers, our working female employees, we'll be able to reduce the recruitment cost. And this will, our female employees are going to be very loyal to that employer. And once they are loyal, what are we going to see in workplaces? We are going to see increased productivity, satisfaction from the female employees, as well as resilience. And again, you can imagine when during the advert or during recruitment, you come across there's an added advantage of the way this employer is supporting breastfeeding working employee, so that it itself becomes an added recruitment incentive. Who wouldn't want to work where they are being supported? Then ultimately is going to improve the employer's image in the sense that we all appreciate, or we may not know, at utmost importance, it is the human capital development. And that will definitely it's going to improve the employer's image. It's also going to lower the employer's health and insurance costs. And this is when you look at the many benefits, the numerous benefits of breastfeeding to the infant, to the mother, to the family, and to the nation. What it's going to happen is we are going to have healthy babies. We are going to see reduction in morbidity, reduction in infection, the diarrhea, the pneumonias, the upper respiratory infection, among others. That is within the children of the female employees. Again, for the female employees, we are going to see them having good health. We know one of the benefits among many, it's prevention of issues to do with diabetes type 2, issues of breast cancer, ovarian cancer. So we are going to lower employees' health and insurance costs. Then is also going to lead absenteeism due to improved child and maternal health. So when you look at these benefits, one leads to the other. And we really need to appreciate this and support the cause. When you look at, sorry, I can't move, my laptop can't move. You try the next slide. So when you look at the benefits to the employee themselves, there's improved job security for them. So they're going to be secure. They'll not be threatened because they know the employer really supports issues of breastfeeding. Then there's also leads to improved performance. Anybody is supported, they're able to improve their performance. Now, which now leads to satisfaction and self-esteem of the female employees. Then what is also going to happen, you are going to see healthy children and employees themselves. And this is going to, as I said, will not have absenteeism because both the mother and the child are going to be healthy. And again, we are looking at it as an added recruitment incentive for the female employees. Then we also know that when we look at exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, we are going to also achieve the spacing. We are going to look at the lactation amenorrhea method, which is one of the family method recommended. And again, our female employees are going to manage, there'll be better stress management. And what is going to happen, even when they go to express, the oxytocin hormone is going to work better because they are well supported. And again, the other benefit is the issues of decreasing in the risk of diabetes, breast and ovarian cancer, as I've told you. So when you look at the benefits to the employer and the employee, you can imagine what a nation would be to live in such an employment or for such employers. The other thing that I really needed to emphasize and talk about, it is how are we going to ensure that there's capacity development to support the breastfeeding in the workplace. Again, the other presenters have talked about issues of policy. So we need to ensure that this formulation of policy that is going to support breastfeeding friendly workplaces. Then we also need to build the capacity of both the employer and the employees on that policy and the benefits of breastfeeding. Then we also need to ensure that there's necessary infrastructure to support a breastfeeding friendly workplace. And again, we should also be have that environment where we are going to learn the best practices, learn from each other so that we are able to support. Look at the support system that Rachel talked about. So learning is a continuous thing. We need to learn all these things. And we also need to ensure that we have monitoring and evaluation. We can have established workplaces, but are they being utilized? So we need to have those internal assessments to monitor the utilization of the lactation spaces that are already provided by the law. Again, when you look at it, this is my last slide. When you look at the roles of managers, supervisors, co-workers, and the senior management, they need to incorporate information about the basic needs of employees in established company or institution training programs. This needs to be part of the training programs that happen within the various employment environments. They also need now to have those policies in place that recognize and address the needs of breastfeeding employees. Then again, we talked about the flexi hours on top of the lunch break that has been provided by the law. So that also needs to be there. Then also dissemination of information about that designated room for breastfeeding. So that room needs to have a signage so that every employer, including the new recruits, they need to know that that organization is supporting the breastfeeding employee by ensuring there's that signage, and as well as coordinating management of a lactation station. What do we mean? Even having a committee at workplaces that is going to really champion the cause of the breastfeeding female employee. And lastly, as we are all here, we call upon all of you to aspire to be champions to support the workplace cause within the country. And thank you very much. We can now have questions and answers. Over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Clementina. That was also a very nice and interesting conversation, taking a look at it from the positive side. You know, some employers look at, you know, even employing women as a disadvantage to the company, because when they are expectant or when they have to go for maternity, there's, you know, it affects the workspace. But looking at it from this positive side is that it increases supporting women in terms of having the lactating stations. It actually increases productivity, and it also improves the employer image. So it depends with what side we're looking at it from, which is very good. I'm glad that I know now the benefits that it has on employers. Now it's time for questions and answers, and I'll just go to the chat to see what you have there. If you have any question, feel free to put it in the chat, and the speakers will answer in the next, hopefully, 5 minutes, if that's possible. The first question is from our admin. She's asking, some women are field staff. How do we handle that? So I will think that the next question is posed for Rachel. The first question can be answered by either Clementina or Jane. Let me ask Jane to answer it.
And again, Stephanie.
Okay, the question is, some women are field staff. So how do we handle that? Having the I believe that is in regards to having.
Yeah, so there's a place I worked, and how would accommodate them would delay their field trips, would ensure that by the time a woman is going to the field, at least the baby is 6 months, would try as much as we can to have them do the office work, depending on what you do. So we'd try as much as we can. And when they came back, would actually have them travel with the baby. We had a policy that would support them to travel with the baby until when the baby was 1 year. Would pay for the nanny, and would book accommodation for the nanny, the lady, and the baby, just to be able to support, and because we understood the importance of that particular breastfeeding. There is also those ice bags, the bags that have ice, the fridge, the movable fridges that people carry, that you're able to freeze, and maybe they can express from whatever other place, because if they're traveling, like you saw from the road data, one lady saying she went for training. They have a lactation room, but she went for training for 2 days, and she had to express from the toilet. So sometimes when you can't control, if the person really has to go, then you have to figure out a way and have the discussion with them. Because I think now what we are saying in this particular conversation tonight is we have to be cautious. We have to look at it as an issue that needs to be addressed. And therefore, you can't assume atajipanga. So you have to ask her, if you're traveling, how did your baby? Are you still breastfeeding? Are you doing ABCD? And if she has a field job, trust me, if she goes for a week, by the time she's back, the milk is dry. So you don't want to send a woman who is breastfeeding out to the field unless if she's going and coming back in the evening. And if she can't express, again, the milk is going to dry. So if we see the problem that we are dealing with, we should accommodate such women, and if you can minimize sending them to the field, then minimize. Back to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Jane. That was a very great answer. I hope she is answered. She's satisfied by that answer. I'll go to the next question. Just after that, we have a question addressed to Rachel. He's asking if the acts aren't only in books, then explain what happened to Hassan, the woman rep, being removed from National Assembly chamber due to bringing her 5-month-old baby seen as a stranger in 7th August 2019. So Rachel, are you there?
Thank you. Yes, I'm here, and thanks so much. We want to appreciate that we are coming from somewhere. And if we look back, we want to appreciate that that was handled immediately, because that was lack of information at that particular time. But when they came to understand what the law says, and this is why we are emphasizing having these kind of forums to ensure that everyone is aware, everyone, in fact, the government took a step. You can see how much in terms of information that we are giving to the population. You can see it even right now in the media. And this is why you can even see it's a theme as a national theme for a whole week, ensuring we are emphasizing this and giving people the right information. So we want to appreciate that happened. And we came in very fast as a government to ensure that those things have been taken care of. And we are hoping that that will not happen again, because we are really putting our efforts to ensure that everyone gets the right information to avoid those kind of instances. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Going to the next question. So this is more of a response. The Mother Goose Kenya are offering lactation pods. So I believe this is more of a solution to a problem that's there in case there's no space in the office, in the organization to accommodate a lactation station. But we have also been brought to the understanding that it doesn't have to be really big. It can be small. It's not as big as an office size space, but this is also a good solution to have. Yes, and Rachel responded to that. It's a great effort, good for organization, no space. Yeah, and yeah, I believe those are all the questions that we have. And now I want to give the speakers an opportunity to have a parting shot from all that you have said and from questions and the discussion that we have had today. What is your parting shot? Let me start with Clementina.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. My parting shot is that let's all be advocates. Let's all champion the cause, and let's make the world a better place. That's my parting shot. Thanks.
Oh, amazing. Short and very straightforward. Thank you very much, Clementina. I'll go to Jane. What is your parting shot?
My parting shot would be for any HR professional who is here, and even if your HR is not here, let's talk to them tomorrow. Let us do the minimum and comply with the law. At the very least, let's comply with the law and share it with your employer so they understand where you're coming from. And let's appreciate even further the issues that these women face in the organization. And then I know we keep talking about diversity, but how inclusive are workspaces? What is the point of recruiting these ladies and then they drop, or they come and it's a very difficult workspace and they feel like there's no employee relations? So if you're a HR and you're here and you don't have a policy on breastfeeding, or you're not complying at least with the Health Act of 2017, at the very least, tomorrow, please start those negotiations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jane, for that. And finally, Rachel, what is your parting shot?
Thank you so much. Mine is simple. Let's be the change agents. Let's have more forums. Let's ensure that we follow the laws and put them in place. What needs to be put in place, and know that it saves life. So let's be advocate for breastfeeding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm seeing some comments. Lucy says, what arrangements have you for young mother in school on breastfeeding? Oh, okay, we had closed the question session, but maybe I'll ask one of them to answer to that. And Mercy says, thank you all for the presentation. HR has the big shot in the success of WPBF. Okay, all right. So for Lucy's question, can I ask Rachel to respond to it?
Thank you. We are looking to ensure that we are meeting the needs for all mothers. And we want to appreciate some organizations, some private sectors are already going to schools. And I know one organization that is going to do 100 lactation spaces in school. So there is also a forum to ensure that the mothers, the schools are sensitized on the same. So we are moving on forward to support them, and we are happy that even the private sectors are also into it to ensure that we are supporting all sectors as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Rachel. I see, Isaac, you have your hand raised. I don't know if yours is a feedback or a question. Go ahead. Isaac? You're breaking. We can't hear you well, Isaac. We can't hear you well. I think there's a network chat.
Actually, but
Come again, start again.
Now.
It's a bit better. Start again.
Okay.
We have lost you again. Maybe you can put chat. We have lost you. You're breaking. Maybe you can put it in the chat before we close.
Box.
We can't hear Isaac. You can put it in the chat. Meanwhile, we'll go to Nancy's question. Kindly, how can we support the informal sector, young mothers, casual laborers? And a comment, a feedback from Nancy Committee saying this was wonderful. Congratulations to all our facilitators. Let me ask Clementina to answer the question by Nancy. Clementina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So just to answer Nancy, workplace support is not only about formal employment, it casts across up to the informal employment. And I can just give a classic example of the Tharaka Nithi, where there's already a crèche, and mothers are able to come to bring their children, their babies there, and they're able to continue breastfeeding as they work. So what am I saying? We are going to endeavor to create more awareness and have discussion with county governments so that they can also support having lactation spaces, even in informal settlement, and also continuous engagement with our mothers within the informal sector so that they really understand why they really have to continue breastfeeding for 6 months. I think as a country, those are examples are there, and the conversation will keep on going to ensure that we are sustaining the gains that they were there, and they have really been geared this particular week. That is also something that I'm looking upon, sustaining what you began. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clementina. That was a great answer. Another question. Before the question, Grace says, there's more. Rachel, one of our speakers, answers the question that was asked by one of us, saying for young mothers in school, they can be given 1 year before going back to school. So that helps solve the problem of having policies in school to help them. Also, Rachel, that is after delivery. Faith Gitahi says, wonderful and quite informative presentation from our facilitators. Grace Echoka says, thank you to the three presenters for the informative session. We all need to continue advocating for workspaces for our breastfeeding female employees. And Angeline Korir says, good presentation, so informative. The final question, I believe, will be that of Isaac. He's asking, is there a mechanism to ensure that employers will support breastfeeding mothers to have place to breastfeed their children? So, I don't know if there's an answer. Yes. Rachel Ndungu says, an act is a law and thus should be followed. So Isaac, I believe you have your answer there. Breston Rakiro says, have learned a lot. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining in the conversation and, asking your questions and taking in points from the presentations that have been there. I'd want to give some announcements before we close out. And thank you very much to the speakers. Before we end, Esther will be coming on board to give a vote of thanks. So hold on a little bit. For the announcements, the key events that are about to take place very soon, starting with the Zumba. So Conversation with Esther has Zumba every first month of the week. It's usually every first week of the month rather, but for this month, we're going to have it on 9th September. That will be on the second week, 9th September. It's from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Nairobi Children's Traffic Park, Nyerere Road, Nairobi. And it only goes for 2,000 Kenyan shillings. And this is not much considering how much you will gain from it. You get to relax, to let off. And recently we talked about self-care is not selfish. So this is one of the things that you need to do and to just get off your mind and relax. The charges also accommodates for brunch. So your feeding needs are catered for, and also your health needs. After that, we also having a very an interesting session. We recently had another talk with one seasoned speaker who goes by the name David Tanki, and he came to talk about personal budgeting. And because of public demand, people really were interested in that conversation and seeing the implementation of the Finance Act, which has recently been implemented. And just looking at the news, I was looking through some updates earlier on. And, the KRA iTax has something, an addition. Okay, so KRA updates iTax system. And now, let me see if I can get it. Just a brief into it. And now among key changes reflected on the new, among the new changes are the pay as you earn rates with the Finance Act of 2023, worth 32.5% for persons earning between 500,000 and 800,000 monthly, and 35% for persons earning above 800,000. Also, the housing fee 1.5% will be implemented. So these are some of the things that are going to affect us. So how do we cope with that and keep up with our personal finances? How do we budget to ensure that we do not suffer, but instead thrive? So we have money matters and personal budgeting and investment vehicles. That is the theme. We will be virtually a live webinar. It'll be on the 19th of August on a Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Esther Katiba, who is usually the host and founder of Conversations with Esther. David M. Tanke is the CEO of LearnX Africa Limited. And the charge for this particular event, this webinar, is 1,000 shillings. So we'll be sharing out details, the poster for it, so that you can make payments in advance. Finally, we have another event later on in the year, not too far. It'll be in October. That is coping with loss and grief. That is the theme of the event. This is a topic that I think affects most people, especially after COVID-19. Many people are affected by different things. So when we talk about loss, it's not just loss of a loved one, but people have lost jobs, people have lost partners, relationships, people have lost investments. So different types of loss is being addressed by this particular event. And we're going to have professional psychologists. So even children are welcome to come. It's for everyone. We have psychologists for children. We have, we'll be having different tents. It'll be such a great session for us to just get over things that we don't even know that we have faced, or we don't recognize how much it has affected us. And the location is at Nairobi Children's Traffic Park along Nyerere Road in Nairobi on the 7th of October again, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The theme is coping with loss and grief. It's free entrance for everyone. And because it's free, of course, we want to make sure that we cater to the needs of everyone, including lunch and everything. So we'll need partners to come and support the event. So if you're a partner, or if you know someone who can support in this, we are welcoming partners. They will be able to reach us out on admin@conversationswithesther.org. We'll be sharing a poster for that again sometime this week, hopefully. And so you just so that you get the updates, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is Conversations with Esther. Better updates will be given in regards to the posters on Instagram at also Conversations with Esther. You can also follow Esther Katiba on LinkedIn. She'll be sharing directly on her platforms. So these are some of the things that we are set for. Remember, the Coping and Grief event is free of charge completely. And it's been a lovely session with you. I'm glad that I've been able to moderate it. Esther Katiba, you can now take the place. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Clementina, and the attendees, and for your patience. I don't think I can say so much. I just want to appreciate one lady, Sincere Gesha, is always the first person to get into our calls 40 minutes before time. We appreciate you, and my parting shot would definitely be, let's make breastfeeding and work. Asanteni sana. God bless you. See you next Wednesday, same time, same place. Thank you. Bye-bye.